creative when it comes to science. And VP, have you thought about going into science? I know I've asked you this a couple of times. Yeah, I think you have a really logical mind, and as much as you like the mechanics, I'm really interested to see if you're able to tie biology, because I know you really like biology. Next year you'll be in chemistry and then physics, and possibly robotics. I just see you definitely having some skills that would make you go well with research and with this kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what we've got here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lead you through kind of the rubric. I might ask you questions throughout. I found that today that works much better than question and answer at the end. And then I'd like you to start with your topic, your literature review and background. Tell me about your procedure, and then go ahead and go through your conclusion, results, and what you learned. Okay? So you may begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So my topic is like what acid works the best to lower the pH level of stomach acid.
Uh-huh.
And I tried 3 different types of acids. I tried pica and Alka-Seltzer.
Uh-huh. And then you have a control group. One of these is your control?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And talk to me about your literature review. What's some stuff that you learned about? What are your research questions that you investigated?
I investigated that acid reflux can be caused by different things.
Mm-hmm.
For example, ulcers and acid reflux can be caused by drinking too much alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something called the hiatal hernia.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when the acid goes up to your chest.
Yep. And can that harm you?
Yes.
Okay.
And
What else did you research?
I researched that acid reflux can cause like burps, like to feel like acid.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's like you feel like you can't swallow down your food.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I researched that my acids, 2 of them had the same ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
And only
Which 2?
one was actually different.
So which 2 were similar?
Tums and Alka-Seltzer.
Tums and Alka, but pretty significant differences in their reaction. So they had similar ingredients, different amounts,
Yeah.
and they look different, right?
Yeah.
And they react different, which is what we'll talk about when you talk about qualitative data. When you were doing your research, which one, as you were reading and doing literature review, which one did you begin to hypothesize before you started your testing was going to be the good one?
Well, I hypothesized this one because my family has always used that one.
Uh-huh. And that's the Pico?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And the others, so you thought it was going to be the Pico that did the best work, okay? And anything else in your literature review that you read about that was interesting besides the health issues? Anything, I mean, how powerful is acid, and how did you harvest stomach acid? I mean, is that what you're testing on?
Yeah.
So that's stomach acid in those jars?
It's not.
So talk to me about the acid you choose. Okay, there we go.
I went to Orchard,
Mm-hmm.
like to Osh, and then I bought some muriatic acid.
And why muriatic?
I researched it, and it said that that was the one to use, and because the main ingredient was hydrochloric acid.
Mm-hmm. Is that similar to what's in our stomach acid?
Yes.
So muriatic acid will eat a penny. Does that mean if I eat a penny, it'll disintegrate in my stomach?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay. Again, might be something for future resource, but I do know that stuff, and I know you found something. How powerful is this acid, Mr. Vera-Peña?
It's powerful.
Talk to me about how you know it's powerful as one of your processes of experimentation.
Well, my uncle and I, we spilled some on cement, and they burned through it a little bit, and then we put a bug in it, and it dissolved it.
So you were playing with the acid with your uncle.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Awesome. Hopefully you were wearing safety gear.
Yes.
Okay, good. And the bug was not. No, the bug was not. And did you fix the damaged cement?
It just burned, like, it just cleaned it. 'Cause there was
So you
already-
actually, so it didn't eat through the cement, but you saw everything. I mean, it looked like it was brand new cement.
It was already mixed,
Uh-huh.
so it just cleaned it a little bit.
So you had diluted it already with, okay, with agua. Got it. Talk to me, please, about how you set your procedures up. So you got the muriatic acid after doing research to found, were you testing pH at all, or what were you measuring?
That's what I was testing.
Okay, is that what your graph looks at?
Yeah.
And what were you using to test pH?
Yeah, I used the pH meter, digital pH meter.
Did you find it was pretty accurate for the muriatic acid when you tested it? It was giving you the pH that you expected to get to start with? Okay.
Because I researched that stomach acid ranges from 1.5 to 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I started off with...
And the lower
3.4.
numbers means it's a higher acid.
Yes.
Right, okay.
I started off with about 3.4.
Mm-hmm. And then talk to me about the process. So was this over one day, or first you obviously set up the same, talk to me about the concentration. What was your dilution?
Dilution was 1 part uric acid and 60 parts water.
Okay, wow, that's a heavy dilution, and that was, you found research on that online?
Yes.
Excellent. Continue, please. And then what's in your other test groups?
In the other test groups, like I said, this one has pecan, and it has Tums, this one has Alka-Seltzer.
Same amount in each one?
I put the amount that it says on the label.
Okay, so you read the label and you went through the basically recommended dosage.
Yes.
Excellent. And Pico, what's the recommended dosage for that?
1 package.
1 packet, and so it's a little packet. Okay, cool. Talk to me what happened with each one of them.
Well, Alka-Seltzer was automatically all 3 after the first trial, they all jumped up. But over time, Alka-Seltzer was the strongest. And then Tums was the second strongest, and Pico was the last one.
So show me on your graph which one is which, 'cause I'm missing some data labels there.
This one was Alka-Seltzer. This one was Tums, this one was Pico.
And is that day 1?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Show me what happened day 2.
It's like, it went up a little bit.
And did you weren't adding any acid, did you add more Tums, more Alka-Seltzer, more Pico?
Yeah.
So each day you added another recommended dosage?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Keep talking to me about that.
And I let on for 4 days, but then pecan eventually stopped pouring it all at once. But eventually kind of bubbled up.
Oh, wow.
Out of the container. And so that kind of ruined my data a little bit.
So that's a little bit of scientific error that it bubbled over. Okay, perfect. Glad you identified that.
But it went down only about 0.3.
Okay. So the bubbling, so you didn't lose that much when it bubbled over.
No,
Okay.
just a little bit.
Got it? Talk to me about other scientific errors. You talked about the one with the bubbling over, but talk to me, were there any other scientific errors? Did you leave lids on, lids off? Yeah.
When I poured them in, it's like some granules might have stick to the rim.
Good.
And there was
So slight measurement?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I had possibly no way to replicate enzymes. So,
Talk to me about enzymes based on your research.
well, enzymes work along with stomach acid, and they take in particles for the body to absorb. And they basically, and what's left just the body just digests it out, takes it out. And then another error was that I can replicate a mouth because you know how sometimes particles stick inside.
Yep, absolutely.
And while it's going down, it sticks to a lining.
So that would have been really hard because we would have had to figure out a way to replicate tissue, I think. And so, but I do think you kept your controls really solid. It's the same exact glass. It's the same exact measurement. It does have a bit of a neck on it, so I can see some simulation in choosing the Erlenmeyer's versus a beaker. Did you keep it covered at all times?
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things we might have considered would have been putting a balloon over it instead of putting the lid on it, just to see if those chemicals put off any bubbles, because you said it bubbled over, right? So that might be a future experiment. If you had a year and you were able to redo this entire experiment over the course of the year, what are some things, maybe 3 things that you would change?
I'll put the balloon to see what happens, and I would hypothesize that this one have the most hits. And then I would find a way to try to replicate a digestive system.
And maybe even tried to figure out how to show it going through the digestive system, yeah. What was your conclusion? Tell me what your conclusion and results were, please.
Well, my conclusion was that I believe this one was the best one.
Why?
Because it didn't have the best results, but it left the least residue.
And you think that's important for stomach acid?
Yeah, I think it is because I'm not sure, but I believe that the residue can possibly harm you over the long term. So.
And that's interesting because had you done deeper research, you would have found out that red dyes are some of the issues that we're seeing in our foods right now. And red dye specifically affects animals and is being thought to lead to birth defects, yeah. The Alka-Seltzer looks disgusting. I'm curious to what you think that yellow stuff, what happened there, man? Because I don't think I want that beaker back. Is it a solid in there? Is it a liquid? Can you tilt it a little bit for me?
Yes.
Wow. So you got a lot of gradual stuff. I mean, that one seems to have the most stuff at the bottom comparatively, yeah? And you didn't shake this, and you didn't do any like motions with this at all.
I just stirred it a little bit.
I stirred it a little bit just to make it disintegrate. And they all disintegrated in the muriatic acid. But I do notice, hold your Alka-Seltzer up, the residual at the bottom, not the Alka-Seltzer. Does that have the most residual at the bottom?
Well, it has, like, I believe these two have about the same.
Yep.
But this one has, like, more floating around.
Definitely, yeah. So I would have been intrigued to see, did you look at the active ingredients in each one?
Yeah.
And so the active ingredients in Tums and Alka-Seltzer, what were those active ingredients? You can look, it's absolutely okay.
Those were calcium carbonate.
Calcium carbonate, yep. So, and would you have added any if you had a year to do this? Are there any other chemicals about stomach acid or wives' tales or home remedies that you would use?
Probably like different kind of teas.
Teas, yeah, that's a really interesting. Chamomile specifically is one. And then some people prescribe milk. I don't know if you knew that, but milk is high in calcium as well. That when you have a high stomach acid, they say that milk, because it's a base, will actually bring your liquid down. So I think those would have been really good. And what's one aha that you took away from this that really impacted you in your learning?
Well, one aha is that I'll keep using this one.
Yeah.
Yes.
And were you surprised that your mom's remedy was the best?
Not really.
You weren't surprised, yeah. I think that's great. And it's funny because my nanny, I told Jesus this as well. My nanny uses the same thing with my baby. And I had no idea what she was giving him. I'm like, what is that? She goes, it cures everything. I'm like, all right, if you say so, I trust you. And now I have scientific evidence that it truly does affect everything. And what was the active ingredient in the pico?
It had citric acid and sodium bicarbonate.
Sodium bicarbonate. So this is what's in ginger ale. Sodium bicarbonate is what makes bubbly water. So basically you're making bubbly water. And Alka-Seltzer has some of that in it. I'm sure you saw that in the active ingredient. But it has a lot of other chemicals as well. So the pico seems to release that acid and digest it really well. Very nicely done, my friend. You have your works cited on your board? Yep, you sure do. Excellent. Thank you very much. Awesome. Well done. Excellent. You are all good. And I will give you grades tomorrow on the presentation. Eric, Gamer Hearts.